This is the third session of a 7-part series brought to you by the Student Advisory Council. On behalf of the SAC, Liliana Arias, Hope Cross Jaya, and Fatma Vakas are pleased to present their conversation with Ms. Ellie Abdelfatah on the rise and effects of Islamophobia in the 21st century. We hope this session is able to increase understanding and bridge cultural and religious gaps. So without any further ado, let's get into it. We hope you enjoy this session.
Hi, Mrs. Abdel. Thank you for coming today. It's truly a pleasure to have you here with us tonight. To start us off, can you please introduce yourself to our audience?
Hello, ladies. Thank you very much for having me. My name is Ellie Abdelfatah. I do go by Ellie Abdel. I was born and raised in Syracuse, New York. My parents are originally from Palestine. They came to America in 1978. I was the first one born from my siblings, from the girls here. My older brothers were born in Palestine. I was the first one to be born here. I am a full-time student at SUNY Oswego. I am a part-time manager at an asbestos removal company. I'm a football coach, basketball coach for my son's team on the weekends. I am a director of a refugee program on the north side of Syracuse. Wherever I'm needed, I enjoy helping wherever I can. And now I'm here with you, ladies.
Thank you, Ms. Abdel, for giving us all that insight. I really appreciate it. So just to start off, some questions I do have are, what is the hijab and what does it mean to you?
So the hijab for me, it identifies who I am. As a Muslimah, I wear it for modesty. Okay, so for our hijab is something that we do have to wear in our religion. It is, we are obligated to wear it as soon as we hit puberty, as soon as we mature enough, when we understand it. So we do have to wear it. And it is worn for modesty. And so for me, it means my belief in Islam. It means it's very valuable to me. The hijab, it keeps me humbled. It keeps me grounded. So for me to wear it and to feel modest keeps me grounded.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Another follow-up question that I do have is when you started wearing it. So we would use that was at puberty is when you started wearing it.
Yeah, so I actually started a few years later. I started and the thing is with some cultures, not every culture will do this, but in some cultures they force it upon you. With me and with my parents, they didn't force it. At the age of 13, I started wearing it. At first, I was trying it out. I didn't know if I did want to do it or not. If I wanted to start it because I was young. I was still still in school, and I didn't know how kids in school are going to react. I did stand out, obviously, but in a good way, in a respectful way.
Right. Thank you. Okay, so my question is, can you explain the difference between a burqa, a niqab, and a hijab, and why women might choose to wear the different ones?
Sure. So a burqa is a hijab that's basically that's covering your whole face. You can see very lightly through the eyes, but it's still covered like a shield, not a shield, I'm sorry. It's more like a sheer, like it's a see-through cloth, and it could be a part of the hijab. The niqab, you see the eyes and you got the face covered. So from the nose and the mouth is covered. And then the hijab is just like what you see here. It's just covering the head, the hair, and then, and obviously just the face showing. Burqa is, I want to say, people who believe a little bit more than others in Islam, and that's a preference. That's not something that Islam tells us. So we do not have to wear the burqa. So I just want to make that clear that it's not something that it's mandatory. Some countries, they are a little more strict, and that's what they prefer. The niqab, you see that a lot more in Saudi Arabia. Yemen, Iraq. You see that more in those countries where the niqab is, presented.
Next question I have is, if you have any, your daughters wear the hijab?
Yes, I do have a daughter. My daughter is now 17, turning 18 in March. I can't believe she's getting that old. It makes me this old, but so she used to go to an Islamic school here in Syracuse. She did transfer in the 6th grade. She did wear it the first day in school. She came back home crying. She didn't, she's like, I had very bad experience. Why, what's the problem? What? She's like, I can't, everyone were just like looking at me. I just felt I was out of place. So for me to hear that, obviously I couldn't force her after that. I was like, there's no way I'm going to force you to wear it. But I did, explain to her the meaning behind it. I did explain to her the importance of wearing the hijab. But she just, she chose differently. So again, I didn't want to force her, because if I force her, then obviously she's wearing it for the wrong reasons. And I didn't want that to happen. So, and it made me think, it was just like it's a big difference where when I was in school at the age of 13, I mean, it was accepted. No one, no one bothered me. No one, no one was being disrespectful. No one was being ignorant about it. Here with my daughter now, it's a whole nother story. So for her to come back and feel a certain way because she can't be comfortable with something that we believe in, that for me was very hard. And I called the principal. I talked to the principal. I talked to her teachers, but and like I said, I didn't want to force her to do something she didn't want to do, but I just wanted her to understand the importance of it. And she still tells me till today, one day I feel like I'm gonna put it on. I'm gonna start wearing it, but I just want to be comfortable with it. And I respect that, and I appreciate that. That I would rather her be honest with me rather than her wear it and she's just not comfortable. Like there's no reason to push for something, and then and especially if she knows the importance behind it, and if it's not coming from her heart, then I should, there's no reason for me to force it upon her. So I'm sure that when she's ready, she'll be able to wear it with confidence and be fully aware of why it is important in Islam.
Yeah, I think that's so important for letting people, especially I think young Muslimas choose on whether they want to wear the hijab or not. I think it's, like you said, like so much more than anything, it's a symbol of modesty and it's a symbol of resilience. And there's so much out here in the Western media that's against Muslims, that's against Islam. And I think wearing it is a symbol of just so much courage and so much resilience. And you're telling people that I'm not afraid to be who I am.
Absolutely.
And my hijab is more than anything a symbol of empowerment, and it should not stop me from progressing. People should not see me any different when I wear the hijab from when I don't wear it. I'm still the same person. I'm just presenting myself differently.
Absolutely right. And that's what I say even to myself now. Like the thing is, if I look back 20 years ago, okay, or even 30 years ago, I look back and I say to myself, you know what? I can't see myself any different. Like this is what was meant for me to be. It was meant for me to wear the hijab. It was meant for me to be this person. You know what I mean? If I can't look at myself and say, you know what? What if I, start wondering, who would I be? Would I be the same person? Would I still do and act and want to do the things that I do now if I wasn't wearing the hijab? So for me, I don't look at things like that. I'm very happy and very comfortable where I'm at right now, especially like you said, because it represents, it's a symbol of who we are. It's a symbol and a sense of empowerment. I love it. That's exactly what it is.
Okay, thank you. The next question we have is, what would you say comes up most in Islamophobic comments?
There's a lot. There's a lot. There's a lot of you are forced to wear that because, or sometimes people feel that when if that you're not born here, you weren't born in America, so you don't understand that this is America, so you have to, it's like we have to take it off because we're in America. So people can, again, if you're not educated in a certain area, the questions can be, or comments can be very ignorant. So the problem is, I think it's more on us as Muslims for us to be able to educate people around us, and for us to be able to kind of like answer someone's question, or even before they even make a comment, for us to actually be able to present ourselves in a way where there should be no Islamophobia. But there are a lot of comments where people feel like you guys are in the wrong country, you shouldn't be here, that's not for here, so when, or if people will tell us, do you have to wear that? Is that something that you have to wear? You guys are in America, you guys are in a free country. So they think that it's basically oppression. There's a lot of, I think a lot of it is because of lack of knowledge, a lack of education. I think that's where, where these, comments come up. And, again, and I feel I don't like to shift blame on others. If there is any comments that are said in a negative way, I feel that's on us, not on others, because I feel that we have to do our part. We have to do our part. I cannot, and this is why I love the fact that you guys are doing this. This is amazing, because this is something that you guys are going to educate others on. People need to hear this. People need to hear that, that Islam or hijab, the hijab is not something to be afraid of. It's not something to be afraid. I'm still me. I'm just covered. I'm just covered. That's all it is. It's still me. If you truly want to understand the hijab, you have to understand the person behind the hijab. Understand what's in my heart. This is just something immaterial, but represents who I am. So that's why I said there's a lot of misconception about Islam and about the hijab. So understanding why the hijab is worn is a huge step to to understanding how we should approach people, and how we should, especially a Muslimah, how we should approach them and ask the right questions.
Thank you so much for that. My next question kind of just follows up to what Lily just asked. So like you mentioned, it's more so about how we as Muslims portray our religion and how we educate others. There are people who say a lot of absurd things, and I don't think they actually realize that for most Muslim women, it's actually a choice that we make. And I'm not saying there are cultures that do force it, but people need to realize that the religion doesn't actually force it. It gives women the choice and the freedom to choose and to wear it for their right reasons. I mean, I know for most women, they do it to feel closer to their God. For most women, they do it for their modesty reasons. So my next question would be, what do you think we as Muslims, and for I think everyone in general, what do you think we should do to approach people and foster awareness and understanding of wearing hijab? And in general, what should we do to give them a better understanding of what Islam really is as a religion?
It's a very good question. I think that we, as Muslims, we should be able to, and there's a lot of Muslims who don't even actually understand it themselves, and so that's the first step. First step is the Muslims themselves, they need to understand 100% when they are educating others. Okay, they need to be educated themselves in this area. So a lot of times people say, oh, it's a part of a religion. Okay, is that all you're going to tell people? Is a part of your religion? No, there's more to it. There's more to it. So when you go to explain this information to others, it has to be attractive. Okay, so if I have the proper information, if I have the proper knowledge, okay, I'm going to tell you exactly why it's being worn. It's being worn for a reason. For me, it's being worn for a reason. I want to wear it because it identifies me as a Muslim. The main thing is educating yourself to the point where you know how to respond, you know how to approach a person. And like I said, I think that, even starting with us as Muslims, as, doing small little lectures, or gatherings, and what I love in Oswego, we have a class. It's a class about race, and I love it. I love it because it's got so much information, and especially from a woman's perspective, we should be able to do more on understanding different cultures, different beliefs, different traditions. And that's why it's very important to understand, like, it's good for us to understand why the hijab is important, but also understand the roots of it. Why? Where did it stem from? Why is the hijab, important? I think people are starting to accept it more, but again, questions will come up. But I mean, I feel that it is being more socially accepted, here in the West.
Okay, thank you so much for that.
You know?
And now we're going to come to the closing of this interview with my last question. So we know that there are stereotypes in the Western world,
right.
But do you think there are any stereotypes in the Eastern Islamic world about hijabi women, or I think in general for women who also do not choose to wear the hijab? Or do you think there are any of those stereotypes that need to be eradicated and make the Muslim world also a much more, I guess, a more cooperative world for both, hijabis and non-hijabis, and a way for, because I know there are a lot of Muslims who following culture will say things like, oh, sister, you're not wearing a hijab, you'll just go to hellfire, without knowing anything, like the concept behind that. So do you think there are any of those stereotypes that we need to eradicate, and how we can eradicate those?
Yeah, absolutely. So the thing is, as you said, yes. If unfortunately there are some people who are like that, who feel that if you're not wearing it a proper way, you are not wearing hijab, you might as well take it off. And that is the wrong thought. I think that we should be able to maybe to educate them on how they should wear it properly, rather than tell them they're going to hell, or they should take it off, or or they're not a Muslimah. For us to lash out back or say you're going to hell, that's completely wrong. That's the last thing that we want to do, because we can't judge. That's only for God to judge. We cannot judge who's going to hell and who's not going to hell. So if we are able to respond in a positive way when someone asks us something offensive, or we're being, or some stereotypical, then we respond in a respectful way, and don't forget who we are. As a Muslim, as a Muslimah, we need to understand, always keep in mind who we are and what we represent, because any reaction or any response is always going to reflect on what we believe in. And if we believe we're good Muslims, then we do our best to make sure that we're always setting a positive example, because we have to lead by example. In order for me to tell you that, well, I'm a better Muslimah and you're not because you're not wearing a hijab, okay? Am I leading by example? Absolutely not. I don't know what's in your heart. I don't know what you've done. I don't know how much more. You probably could have done a lot more for the community, more than me. And the thing is intention. That's the number one thing for us, is intention. We're wearing this hijab with the intention that God is accepting, that God is going to accept us for who we are. We're only doing it to please God. We're not doing it for other people. We're not doing it for people to come and tell us, oh, you look beautiful in the hijab today. Well, thank you. But I would rather, it be accepting with God than to be with people, because again, you can never please people. You can never, ever please people. You can talk up a storm with people, okay? And if people have a certain perspective of you, there's no way that you're going to change their mind unless it's in a nice, positive, respectful way, okay? And that only comes from God. If they choose to be guided, God will guide them, and God will change their hearts. You can't change their hearts unless they want to be, if they want that positive response, or they want, that comes within them, but God can only change that. Other than that, I mean, we do our best, on our end, and then the rest we leave in God's hands.
That was so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
And I totally agree with you, because I feel there are a lot of times when cultures and like specific sort of people and cultures go, well, you need to wear the hijab, or you're not wearing it right. And I think that kind of demotivates women who actually want to wear it. And I don't think people realize that most women, when they want to wear the hijab, it's such a hard task just in Muslim community itself. And to be in a Western country, whether it's America or Finland or England, it's an even harder task here. So I feel like for people, especially our Muslim communities, we definitely need to understand that it's something that we need to do step by step. Mm-hmm. You cannot do one thing all in one. I think so many people in our community need to understand that it's not something you can force on someone. Absolutely. You need to let people decide. You need to let people choose, even if it doesn't fit your definition of what a hijab is.
Right.
They're taking like it step by step. That's their progress. And I think in our religion, progress and struggling to do something just for the sake of God and submitting yourself to the will of God, that's so much more than being perfect, because in reality, you can be perfect.
Thank you for doing this, Ms. Abdel. You've really provided a lot of great insight, and I'm sure that everyone who watches this will definitely learn a lot. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to do this. I know you're very busy. This really means a lot to us. Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this conversation with Ms. Ellie Abdelfatah. If you're interested in learning more about what the SEF and the SAC do, please don't hesitate to visit our website at scanedfoundation.org.